My stepmom left me home to clean while they took a family beach trip, so I moved out with everything I own. When they came back to an empty home, they tried to apologize and promised to change. I lived with my dad, Marcus, my stepmom, Jennifer, and my two younger half-siblings, Emma 12 and Tyler 10. My biological mom passed away when I was 7, and dad remarried Jennifer when I was 9. For the past 10 years, I've been the built-in babysitter, house cleaner, and general unpaid labor in this household. Do not get me wrong, I love Emma and Tyler. They're good kids, and it's not their fault their mom treats me like hired help rather than family. But Jennifer, she's been making my life miserable since day one. And my dad just goes along with whatever she says to keep the peace. The breaking point came during spring break my senior year of high school. I had been working part-time at a local cafe to save money for college while maintaining a 3.8 grade point average. I was exhausted, stressed about graduation requirements, and desperately needed a break. When Jennifer announced they were planning a weekend trip to Virginia Beach, I was actually excited. I started mentally packing, thinking about how nice it would be to relax by the ocean. That's when Jennifer dropped the bomb. "Actually, Winifred, it's better you stay behind and work," she said casually while loading the dishwasher. "Someone needs to deep clean the house while we're gone, and you could pick up extra shifts at the cafe. Emma and Tyler are so excited for some quality family time." I felt like I'd been slapped. Family time. I'm family too. Jennifer turned around with that fake sympathetic smile she's perfected. "Oh, honey, you know what I mean. The kids need one-on-one attention from their parents. Plus, you're always complaining about needing money for college. This is perfect." My dad, Marcus, was sitting at the kitchen table reading his newspaper. I looked at him desperately, waiting for him to say something, anything to defend me. Instead, he just nodded along. "Jennifer's right, kiddo. You'll be more productive here anyway." My heart shattered. Kiddo, that's what he used to call me when I was little, and he actually paid attention to me. Now it just felt patronizing. "But I haven't had a real break in months," I protested. "I've been taking care of Emma and Tyler every weekend, doing all the household chores, working, and keeping up my grades. I need this trip." Jennifer's expression hardened. "Wyfred, we've given you a roof over your head and food on the table for 10 years. The least you can do is contribute to this family instead of being selfish." That word selfish echoed in my head. I was selfish for wanting to spend time with my own family. I was selfish for wanting a break from being their living maid and babysitter. I watched them pack their bags that Friday morning. Emma came up to me with tears in her eyes. "I wish you could come, Winifred. It won't be as fun without you." Tyler hugged my legs. "Who's going to play video games with me?" "You'll have fun with Mom and Dad," I told them, forcing a smile. "Take lots of pictures for me." "Okay," Jennifer overheard and rolled her eyes. "They'll be fine. You need to stop making this about you." After they left, I sat in the empty house feeling more alone than I ever had in my life. That's when something inside me snapped. I was tired of being treated like I didn't matter, like I was just some burden they had to deal with. I decided it was time they realized exactly what they'd be losing. I called in sick to work that weekend, the first time I'd ever done that. Technically, I wasn't scheduled to work anyway since it was spring break, but I had planned to pick up extra shifts for the money. Instead, I spent the entire 2 days methodically removing every trace of myself from the house. I started with my bedroom. I packed every single piece of clothing, every book, every knickknack that belonged to me. My laptop, my phone charger, my jewelry box that had been my mom's. Everything went into boxes. It took multiple trips, but I managed to fit most of my belongings into my beat-up Honda Civic by making several runs to a storage unit I rented that morning. Then I moved to the common areas. Every family photo that included me came down from the walls. The living room had a whole gallery wall of pictures, and after I removed the ones with me in them, there were these obvious rectangular gaps where the pictures used to hang. I didn't replace them with anything. In the kitchen, I removed the drawing Emma had made of our family that included me, which had been hanging on the refrigerator for 2 years. I took down the certificate from when I made honor roll that Dad had proudly displayed. I removed the magnet I brought back from my school trip to Washington, D.C. I went through every room systematically. The bathroom lost my toiletries, my towels, my shower caddy. The laundry room lost my detergent and fabric softener. I even took the coffee mug with my name on it that Emma had made me in art class. But here's where it gets interesting. I didn't just pack my stuff randomly. I had a plan. The first thing I did was document everything. I took photos of my room before I started packing, showing all my belongings in their usual places. I took pictures of the family photos on the walls, the kitchen magnets, everything. I wanted proof of how integrated I was into this household, how much space I actually occupied in their lives. As I packed, memories flooded back. I found the journal I'd kept when I was 13 full of entries about feeling invisible in my own home. There was one entry from Christmas that year that made me cry. Jennifer gave Emma and Tyler these amazing presents, but I got a pack of socks and a grocery store gift card. When I thanked her, she said, "Well, you're always complaining about needing things." I wasn't complaining. I was just mentioning that my shoes had holes in them. I found cards I'd made for Father's Day over the years that Marcus had never acknowledged. Birthday gifts I bought for Jennifer with my babysitting money, hoping she'd warm up to me. She'd always said thank you politely, but I'd never seen her use or wear anything I'd given her. In my closet, I discovered the dress I bought for Jennifer and Marcus's wedding anniversary dinner last year. I'd been so excited to celebrate with them. Had saved up for weeks to buy something nice. Then the night before the dinner, Jennifer told me they decided it should be just the four of them and that I should stay home with pizza money. I never got to wear the dress. Each item I packed represented a moment when I tried to belong, tried to be part of the family, only to be pushed aside. The anger that had been simmering for years started boiling over. I decided to get creative with my removal process. In the living room, there was a family portrait we'd taken at J.C. Penney Portrait Studio 2 years ago. Jennifer had insisted on getting wallet-sized copies for everyone. I found the stack of photos in the junk drawer and took every single copy that included me, leaving behind only the ones that were just Marcus, Jennifer, Emma, and Tyler. I left those scattered on the coffee table with a note, "Here's the family photos you actually wanted." In the bathroom, I didn't just take my toiletries. I took the shower curtain I bought with my own money when Jennifer complained the old one was moldy. I took the bath mats I purchased with my earnings. I took the towel hooks I'd installed myself because I was tired of my towels falling on the floor. Suddenly, the bathroom looked sparse and unwelcoming. The kitchen was where I really made my point. I'd been doing most of the cooking for 2 years, ever since Jennifer started working longer hours. I took every cookbook I'd bought, every specialty utensil I'd purchased with my own money, every spice I'd added to the rack using money from my cafe job. I took the coffee maker I'd saved up for and bought as a Christmas gift for the family, though it had come from my own paycheck. I took the blender I'd bought specifically for making Emma's morning smoothies when she went through her health food phase. I opened the refrigerator and looked at all the meal prep containers I'd filled that week before they left for their trip. I'd spent my Friday night cooking and portioning meals for the following week, thinking I was being helpful. Instead, I dumped all of it into garbage bags. If they wanted home-cooked meals, they could make them themselves. But the most satisfying part was what I did in Emma and Tyler's rooms. Now, before you judge me, I didn't take anything that belonged to them, but I had contributed so much to their lives over the years. Artwork I'd helped them create that was hanging on their walls, photos I'd taken of them at various events, little organizational systems I'd set up to help them keep their rooms clean. In Emma's room, I created this whole gallery wall of her achievements, photos from school events, certificates from piano recital, artwork from different grades. I'd spent hours arranging it perfectly, and she loved showing it off to friends. I took down every photo I'd taken, every certificate I'd helped her frame, every piece of artwork I encouraged her to create. The wall looked bare and sad. Tyler's room had a similar treatment. I'd set up this elaborate Lego display system for him, complete with labeled bins and rotating showcases for his favorite builds. I dismantled the whole thing and packed it up. I bought most of the storage solutions with my own money. Anyway, I left the rooms functional but noticeably different. Emma had always said I was the one who helped make her room feel cozy and special. Tyler often showed off to his friends about the organizational systems I'd created for him. Now they'd see what their rooms look like without my influence. The hardest part was going through the family computer and copying all the photos I'd taken over the years to my personal laptop, then creating a separate folder for them labeled Wyfred's Photos. Do not delete. I left them a note explaining that while I'd taken copies of the photos I'd personally captured, the originals would remain on the family computer, but they belonged to me as the photographer. Years of memories. Emma's first day of middle school, Tyler learning to ride a bike, Christmas mornings, birthday parties. I documented all of it. I found videos I'd taken of Tyler's soccer games, Emma's piano recital, family movie nights, hours of footage of their lives that I'd carefully edited and saved. All of it went with me. As I worked, I started finding things I'd forgotten about, like the time capsule I'd helped Emma and Tyler create when they were younger. We planned to open it when Tyler turned 16. I took that too, along with the photos we'd taken during the creation process. If they wanted to exclude me from family activities, they could exclude me from family memories too. The more I removed, the more obvious it became how much I'd contributed to making that house a home. I'd painted Emma's room when she decided she hated the pink Jennifer had chosen. I'd helped Tyler rearrange his furniture at least 6 times to optimize his space. I'd hung pictures, organized closets, fixed squeaky hinges, and assembled furniture. I'd been the one to research and buy the outdoor furniture on the patio. I'd planted the flowers in the front yard that Jennifer always got compliments on. I'd chosen the throw pillows in the living room that made the couch look more inviting. All of it came with me or went in the trash. By Sunday afternoon, I was emotionally and physically exhausted. But I wasn't done. I had one more phase of my plan to execute. See, my best friend Madison's family had been trying to convince me to move in with them for months. Madison's mom, Patricia, had known my biological mother since they were kids, and she'd always felt protective of me. She'd witnessed how Jennifer treated me and had repeatedly offered me their spare room, especially since Madison was heading off to college in the fall. Anyway, I'd always declined because I felt guilty about abandoning Emma and Tyler. But that weekend sitting in that empty house, I realized I wasn't abandoning them. I was being abandoned by the people who were supposed to love me. So I called Patricia and asked if the offer was still open. She drove over immediately with Madison and her dad Robert to help me move. Patricia took one look at me and wrapped me in the biggest hug. "Sweetie, you should have called months ago," she said. "You're family to us." They helped me load everything into their SUV and my car. Patricia was horrified when I explained what had happened. "They went to the beach without you after everything you do for that family." The best part, Patricia is a real estate agent and knows about homestaging. She helped me arrange the house so that my absence was as obvious as possible without actually damaging anything. We left the furniture exactly where it was, but the gaps on the walls were glaring. My empty bedroom looked like someone had died. The final touch was something I'd been planning since Saturday morning. I created a photo album titled "What Family Actually Looks Like" and filled it with pictures from my time with Madison's family over the years. Photos of Patricia braiding my hair before school dances when Jennifer was too busy. Pictures of Robert teaching me to change a tire when Marcus said he'd show me later, which never came. Images of family dinners where I was included in conversations where my opinions mattered, where I was asked about my day and actually listened to. I left this album prominently displayed on the coffee table, open to a photo of me laughing at Patricia's kitchen table while she helped me with calculus homework. The contrast between my genuine smile in that photo and my forced smiles in our family pictures was stark. I also decided to leave behind some strategic evidence of what they'd be missing. In the laundry room, I left a detailed schedule I created of everyone's activities, showing how I'd been coordinating rides for Emma and Tyler, managing their schedules, and ensuring everyone's needs were met. Without me, they'd have to figure out how Tyler would get to soccer practice on Tuesdays when Marcus was at work and Jennifer had her book club. I left a meal planning chart on the refrigerator showing 2 months of dinners I'd planned and prepared. Next to it, I posted receipts for groceries I bought with my own money because I'd noticed we were running low on things and didn't want Emma and Tyler to go without. In the family calendar, I highlighted in red marker all the events I'd been managing: Emma's parent-teacher conferences that I'd been attending because Jennifer couldn't take time off work, Tyler's dental appointments that I'd been handling, school pickup and drop-off schedules that I'd been coordinating. The most damning evidence I left was a notebook I'd been keeping track of household expenses I'd been covering. Over the past year, I'd spent over $2,000 of my own money on things for the house and the kids. Everything from school supplies to birthday party gifts to restaurant meals. When Jennifer didn't feel like cooking, I'd never asked for reimbursement because I thought that's what family members did for each other. I photocopied every receipt and bank statement, highlighted every expense, and left it all in a folder labeled Winifred's Financial Contributions to the Household. Please reimburse if I'm just the help. If I'm just the... But here's what really drove the point home. I left a detailed job posting that I'd written up formatted like a real employment listing. Wanted live-in childcare and household manager. Requirements available 24/7 with no days off. Responsible for all cooking, cleaning, and childcare. Must provide transportation for children's activities. Expected to use personal funds for household needs. Must accept exclusion from family activities and decisions. Should be grateful for basic housing and food. Previous experience being treated as invisible. A plus compensation. Occasional thank you. Criticism when things go wrong, and the privilege of being told you're selfish when you ask for basic respect. Benefits none. You're lucky to be here. Note, this position was previously filled by a family member who foolishly thought she deserved to be treated as such. I taped this to the front door where they'd see it immediately when they returned. The house felt hollow when I was done. It wasn't just that my stuff was gone. It was that all the life and warmth I'd brought to the space had been removed. The family photos that remained showed 4 people who looked happy together, but the empty spaces on the walls told a different story. I did one final walk through, taking pictures of every room in its newly barren state. The living room with its obvious gaps on the gallery wall, Emma's room with its empty achievement wall, Tyler's room with his Lego collection scattered on the floor instead of beautifully displayed, the kitchen with its empty spice rack and missing appliances, the bathroom that now looked more like a hotel than a home. Before I left, I wrote a letter and placed it on the kitchen counter where they'd be sure to see it. Dear Marcus, Jennifer, Emma, and Tyler, since you wanted to experience quality family time without me, I thought I'd give you a preview of what that actually looks like. As you can see, I've removed myself and my belongings from your home. Do not worry, I found somewhere I'm actually wanted. Jennifer, you said I was selfish for wanting to be included in family activities. You said I needed to contribute more instead of complaining, so I contributed by removing the burden of my presence entirely. I'm sure you'll find that deep cleaning the house yourself is much more efficient without me around. Marcus, I hope you find the peace you were looking for by choosing her side over your own daughter's. Emma and Tyler, I love you both so much, and I'm sorry it has to be this way, but I deserve to be somewhere I'm treated like family, not hired help. I'll be staying with the Johnsons. If you want to reach me, you have my number. Love to some of you, Winifred. Then I left my key on the counter and walked out. Madison's family was incredible. They cleared out their home office and turned it into a bedroom for me. Since I was still finishing high school, Patricia helped me complete my senior year from their address and start looking at colleges. Robert, who's a contractor, even built me custom shelves for my books. The transition wasn't easy despite how welcoming the Johnsons were. I felt guilty about leaving Emma and Tyler worried about how they were coping with the sudden changes, but I also felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time since my mother died, I was living somewhere that I wasn't constantly walking on eggshells, somewhere my presence was genuinely wanted rather than merely tolerated. Patricia noticed things about me that my own family never had. She realized I'd been skipping meals because I was so used to making sure everyone else ate first. She noticed that I apologized constantly for taking up space for existing for having needs. She and Robert gently worked to break me of these habits, assuring me that I belonged there, that my needs mattered. Madison was amazing throughout the transition. Even though she was busy with her own college preparations, she made sure I felt supported and included. She helped me set up my new room, took me shopping for things I'd left behind, and spent hours just listening to me process everything that had happened. The first week was the hardest. I kept expecting someone to text me asking where Emma's soccer cleat was or when Tyler's next dentist appointment was scheduled. My phone felt eerily quiet. I'd been so accustomed to being the family coordinator that not having those responsibilities felt strange, almost wrongs. But the Johnsons helped me realize that this feeling was part of the problem. I'd been so conditioned to be useful that I'd forgotten how to just be valued for who I was, not what I did. Patricia sat me down one evening during my first week there and said something that stuck with me. Honey, love isn't something you earn by being useful. Real love is unconditional. You shouldn't have to constantly prove your worth to people who claim to care about you. It was during this time that I started to understand just how toxic the situation at home had really been. Living with the Johnsons, I could see the difference between a functional family dynamic and what I'd been experiencing. Robert and Patricia disagreed sometimes, but they talked through their differences respectfully. Madison was included in family decisions that affected her. Everyone's feelings and opinions were valued, not just those of the people with the most power. I also started to realize how isolated Jennifer had made me feel from extended family and friends. She'd always made subtle comments about how I spent too much time with Madison's family, how I was always running off instead of being home to help. She discouraged me from staying in touch with my mother's side of the family, claiming it was too painful for Marcus and that I needed to move forward, rather than dwelling on the past. But Patricia helped me reconnect with my maternal grandmother, Linda, who lived about 3 hours away. It turned out that Linda had been trying to maintain a relationship with me for years, but her calls and cards had been intercepted by Jennifer, who claimed she was protecting me from painful reminders of my mother's death. When I called Linda and explained what had happened, she was heartbroken but not surprised. She'd suspected something was wrong when my responses to her letters became less frequent and more generic. She immediately invited me to visit, and Patricia drove me there the following weekend. Being with Linda was like finding a piece of my mother I thought was lost forever. She had photos of my mom that I'd never seen, stories about her childhood that no one had ever shared with me. She also had some hard truths about Jennifer that helped put things in perspective. Your stepmother called me about 5 years ago, Linda told me as we looked through old photo albums. She said you were having a hard time dealing with your mother's death and that contact with our side of the family was making it worse. She asked me to back off for your sake. This revelation hit me like a truck. I'd been 15 when my contact with Linda had suddenly dwindled. I'd assumed she'd lost interest in maintaining a relationship with me, that maybe it was too painful for her to see me because I looked so much like my mother. I should have pushed harder. Linda continued, tears in her eyes. I should have insisted on talking to you directly, but Jennifer seemed so concerned about your well-being and your father backed her up when I called him. I thought I was doing what was best for you. Learning about Jennifer's manipulation made me angrier than I'd been about the beach trip exclusion. She hadn't just treated me poorly. She'd actively worked to isolate me from people who loved me. She'd stolen relationships from me, stolen pieces of my mother's memory, stolen connections that could have made me feel less alone during those difficult teenage years. But the real validation came Monday morning when my phone started blowing up. First, it was Emma, calling crying. Wyfred, where are you? Your room is empty and Mom is freaking out. Then Tyler, confused and scared. Did you move away forever? But the call that satisfied me the most was from Marcus Winifred. Elizabeth, you get back here right now. You can't just leave like this. Actually, I can, I told him calmly. I'm 19 years old and I'm tired of being treated like I don't matter. You're being dramatic. Come home so we can talk about this home. I laughed and it sounded bitter even to me. When was the last time it felt like home, Dad? When was the last time you defended me when Jennifer treated me like garbage? When was the last time you included me in family decisions or activities? Silence. I thought so. I continued. I'm staying where I wanted. Jennifer grabbed the phone from him. Wyfred, this is ridiculous. You can't just abandon your responsibilities. What responsibilities? You mean the ones you never asked if I wanted, the ones where I get all the work and none of the benefits. I'm not your live-in babysitter anymore. Jennifer, those children love you. How can you do this to them? This made me laugh again. I'm not doing anything to them. You created this situation when you decided I wasn't family enough to include in family activities. You wanted to see what family time looked like without me. Well, now you know. The calls continued for days. Emma and Tyler were devastated, which broke my heart, but I stood firm. I arranged to meet them at a local park twice a week, away from the house and away from Jennifer. Marcus tried the guilt trip approach. Your mother wouldn't have wanted this. That's when I got angry. Do not you dare bring my mother into this. My mother would be appalled at how you've let your wife treat me. She would have never allowed me to be excluded from family activities or treated like hired help in my own home. 2 weeks later, Patricia ran into Marcus at the grocery store. She told me later that he looked exhausted and stressed. Apparently, Jennifer was struggling to keep up with all the household tasks I'd been doing, plus watching Emma and Tyler without my help. Patricia said Marcus asked how I was doing, and when she told him I was thriving, he just looked sad and walked away. The turning point came a month later when Tyler had a soccer game. I'd been going to all his games since he started playing, and I wasn't about to stop now. I sat in the stands with Patricia, far from where Marcus and Jennifer were sitting. Tyler scored a goal and immediately looked up at the stands, scanning for me like he always did. When he spotted me, his face lit up and he waved enthusiastically. I cheered and waved back and he beamed. After the game, he ran over to me instead of going to his parents first. Wyfred, did you see my goal? Coach said. I'm getting really good. I saw it. I'm so proud of you, buddy, I said, hugging him tight. Emma joined us and we took selfies together. I posted them on social media with a caption, so proud of my amazing little brother, never missing a game. That's when I noticed Jennifer watching us from across the field. She looked angry, but more than that, she looked worried. Marcus was standing next to her, and for the first time in years, he looked like he was questioning her instead of just going along with whatever she said. After the game, Marcus approached me while Jennifer was helping Tyler get his gear together. Wyfred, can we talk? We're talking now? He looked uncomfortable. I mean, really talk about everything. I studied his face. He looked older than I remembered. Tired. What's there to talk about, Dad? You made your choice. I made a mistake, he said quietly. I've been making mistakes for a long time. This surprised me. Marcus never admitted when he was wrong about anything. She's been struggling since you left. The house, the kids, everything. She didn't realize how much you were doing. I tried to tell you both for years that I was overwhelmed. I know. I should have listened. He paused, looking down at his hands. The house feels wrong without you. Emma cries every night asking when you're coming home. Tyler keeps setting a place for you at dinner out of habit. My heart ached for the kids, but I stayed strong. That's not my fault. No, it's not. It's mine. He looked back up at me. Jennifer wants to talk to you. She wants to apologize. I almost laughed. She wants to apologize because she needs her free babysitter back, not because she actually thinks she did anything wrong. Marcus winced because we both knew I was right. I'm not coming back just to fall into the same patterns, I told him. I'm happy where I am. I'm valued there. What would it take? He asked desperately. What would it take for you to come home? I thought about it seriously. Honestly, I do not think Jennifer is capable of treating me like family instead of hired help. And I do not think you're strong enough to stand up to her when she does not. His face fell, and I felt a ping of sadness. Despite everything, I still loved him. The calls continued for days. Emma and Tyler were devastated, which broke my heart, but I stood firm. I arranged to meet them at a local park twice a week, away from the house and away from Jennifer. During our first park meeting, Emma was clingy and tearful. Why did you leave us? She kept asking. Did we do something wrong? It killed me to see her blame herself. I sat her down on a bench and explained as gently as I could. No, you and Tyler did not do anything wrong. I love you both so much, but sometimes adults make decisions that hurt each other, and I needed to go somewhere where I felt wanted and respected. Tyler, being younger, was more confused than anything. But you are wanted. I want you to come home. I know you do, buddy. And maybe someday things will be different. But right now, I need to stay where people treat me like family all the time, not just when they need something from me. These conversations with the kids were heartbreaking, but they were also necessary. I realized that by staying in that toxic situation for so long, I'd been modeling for Emma and Tyler that it was normal for family members to treat each other with disrespect. By leaving, I was showing them that people have the right to demand better treatment. Meanwhile, life at the house was apparently falling apart. Madison heard through her mom, who ran into neighbors at the grocery store, that Jennifer had been frantically calling around trying to find babysitters for Emma and Tyler. She'd never realized how much she'd been depending on me for childcare because it had become so automatic. The laundry was piling up because no one knew how to work the schedule I developed for keeping everyone's clothes clean and organized. Emma had run out of her favorite shampoo because no one thought to buy more. I'd always been the one to notice when household supplies were running low. Most significantly, no one knew where anything was. I'd been the family's living filing system, keeping track of important documents, school papers, medical information, schedules, and supplies. Without me, they could not find Tyler's soccer registration papers, had no idea when Emma's piano lesson was scheduled, and did not know which drawer contained the thermometer when Tyler came down with a fever. Patricia heard from another neighbor that Jennifer had missed 2 important work meetings because she'd forgotten about Tyler's early dismissal days. Something I'd always tracked on the family calendar and reminded everyone about in advance. The house itself was apparently a disaster. Without my constant cleaning and organizing, things were sliding into chaos. Jennifer had always prided herself on having an Instagram-worthy home, but that was only possible because I'd been doing most of the actual work to maintain it. Marcus tried the guilt trip approach again. Your mother would not have wanted this. That's when I got angry. Do not you dare bring my mother into this. My mother would be appalled at how you've let your wife treat me. She would have never allowed me to be excluded from family activities or treated like hired help in my own home. This conversation happened during week 3, and it was the first time I'd really let loose on him. I'd been holding back my anger, trying to be mature and reasonable, but his attempt to weaponize my mother's memory broke something open in me. You want to talk about what my mother would have wanted? I continued, my voice shaking with rage. She would have wanted her daughter to be loved unconditionally by her father. She would have wanted me to be protected and cherished, not used as free labor, and then excluded when it was time for fun family activities. Winfred, please. No, I'm not done. My mother would have wanted me to know her family, to have relationships with my grandmother and aunts and cousins. But Jennifer made sure that did not happen, did not she? She convinced you that I was too fragile to handle contact with Mom's side of the family. She isolated me from people who actually loved me so she could maintain control. Marcus went quiet. I could tell this was news to him, which somehow made it worse. He'd been so checked out of my emotional life that he had not even known about Jennifer's manipulation. She called my grandmother 5 years ago and told her to stop contacting me. I continued, Grandma Linda thought she was respecting my needs, but really she was just enabling Jennifer's desire to erase my mother from my life. How could you let that happen? I did not know about that. Of course you did not know. You stopped just paying attention to my needs the minute Jennifer came into the picture. You were so eager to have a new wife that you forgot you already had a daughter who needed you. The conversation ended with Marcus crying, which I'd never seen before. But I did not feel sorry for him. He'd made his choices and now he was facing the consequences. The turning point came when Jennifer herself called about a month after I'd left. But this was not like her previous calls where she'd been defensive and demanding. This time she sounded exhausted and humble. "Wyfred, I need to ask you something and I need you to be honest with me." "Okay," I said, surprised by her tone. "Did I really treat you as badly as everyone is telling me I did?" This question caught me off guard. "What do you mean I've been talking to my sister about everything that's happened and she pointed out some things about how I treated you that I never really thought about?" Then Emma's counselor asked me to describe our family dynamic, and when I was explaining it out loud, she paused. God, Winifred, I sounded horrible. I sounded like I was describing a servant, not a family member. I was quiet, not sure how to respond. I keep thinking about specific incidents, things I said and did, and I'm starting to see them from your perspective, like the beach trip. I knew when I said you should stay home that it was cruel. I knew it would hurt you, but I convinced myself it was practical, that it made sense financially and logistically. She was crying now, which was also something I'd rarely seen, but it was not about practicality, was it? It was about me wanting to have time with just my biological children, and I was willing to hurt you to get it. I excluded you from your own family. This was a completely different Jennifer than I'd ever encountered. She continued talking, her voice shaky with emotion. I've been talking to my sister about everything that's happened, and she pointed out some things about how I treated you that I never really thought about. Then Emma's counselor asked me to describe our family dynamic, and when I was explaining it out loud, God, Winifred, I sounded horrible. I sounded like I was describing a servant, not a family member. Wayfred, I owe you an apology, a real one. I was skeptical. Okay, I'm listening. I've been thinking a lot about how I've treated you over the years, especially after trying to manage everything you were doing. I did not realize how much responsibility I'd been putting on you or how unfair I was being. She paused and I could hear her taking a shaky breath. The beach trip was the last straw, was not it. I knew when I said you should stay home that it was cruel. I knew it would hurt you. But I was so focused on having alone time with my biological children that I forgot you're Marcus's daughter too. I forgot that you're part of this family. I was quiet processing. Emma has been seeing a counselor because she's been so upset about you leaving. The counselor asked me to describe our family dynamic, and when I was talking about it out loud, God, Winifred, I sounded horrible. I sounded like I was describing a servant, not a family member. This was not what I had expected from Jennifer ever. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away, she continued. I'm not even asking you to come back. I just needed you to know that I finally understand what I did to you, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I found myself crying, which surprised me. I'd been angry for so long that I forgot there was sadness underneath it all. I needed to hear that. I admit it. But Jennifer, I cannot just come back and pretend everything's fine. Too much has changed. I know. I understand if you cannot forgive me. I understand if you never want to live with us again. I miss you. Emma and Tyler miss you. Even Marcus, though he's too stubborn to say it properly, misses you. We talked for over an hour. Jennifer told me about how she'd grown up in a house where she was expected to take care of her younger siblings and how she'd unconsciously repeated that pattern with me. She talked about how scared she'd been of being a stepmother and how she'd overcompensated by prioritizing her biological children. None of it excused her behavior, but it helped me understand it. The breakthrough came when she said, I keep thinking about how I would feel if someone treated Emma the way I treated you. If someone made her feel like she did not belong in her own family, it makes me sick to think about. That's when I knew her apology was genuine. We agreed to family counseling, all of us together. Patricia and Robert supported my decision, even though they made it clear I always had a home with them. The counseling sessions were intense. Emma and Tyler got to express how confused and hurt they'd been by the whole situation, though the therapist helped them understand the concepts in age-appropriate ways. Marcus had to confront how he'd failed me as a father by not protecting me from Jennifer's treatment. Jennifer had to face the reality of how her actions had affected everyone in the family. It took 6 months of weekly sessions, but we slowly started to rebuild our relationship. Jennifer and I established new boundaries. I would not be automatically responsible for childcare or housework. If they needed help, they would ask, not demand. I would be included in all family activities and decisions that affected me. Most importantly, Marcus learned to speak up when he disagreed with Jennifer instead of just going along with whatever she said. I did not move back home right away. I stayed with the Johnsons through my senior year and started community college in the fall, but I began spending weekends at the house again and holidays and family dinners. The first time Jennifer invited me to go shopping with her and Emma just because she wanted to spend time with me, not because she needed me to watch Emma, I almost cried. It was such a small thing, but it meant everything. Emma and Tyler slowly relaxed too. They no longer seemed to fear that I might disappear from their lives again. They knew I had my own space with the Johnsons, but that did not mean I loved them any less. In fact, the time apart had made our bond stronger. I could be their sister, not their caretaker. The real turning point came during Thanksgiving that year. We were all sitting around the table, and for the first time, Jennifer asked me to say grace. I froze shocked because she'd always reserved that role for Marcus. But she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "You're a part of this family. Please." So I did. And as I looked around the table at Emma and Tyler smiling at me, Marcus nodding, and Jennifer actually looking remorseful, I realized that things had truly changed. Maybe not perfect, but better. It has not been easy. There are still moments when Jennifer slips into old habits or Marcus avoids conflict. But the difference now is that I'm no longer silent. I speak up, I demand respect, and for the first time they listen. Sometimes late at night, I still think about that weekend when they left me behind for the beach. I remember the anger, the loneliness, the hollow feeling in my chest. But I also remember the power I felt taking back my life, packing up my things and showing them what life without me looked like. If I had not been excluded, if Jennifer had not told me I was selfish, maybe I never would have found the strength to walk away. Maybe I never would have discovered that I deserved better. Now, when I look at the photos on the wall of our house, I'm in them. Not just physically present, but truly part of the family. And when I look at myself in the mirror, I see someone who refused to be erased, someone who fought for her worth and won. I know not every story like mine ends this way. Some families never change, some apologies never come. But mine did, and I am grateful. Grateful to Patricia and Robert for giving me a home when I needed it most. Grateful to Madison for being the sister I chose. Grateful to Linda for reminding me of my mother's love. And yes, in a strange way, even grateful to Jennifer for pushing me to the breaking point where I finally realized my own strength. Because in the end, that's what saved me.